To the Ukraine, reports that Russia has increased the number of its troops on the Ukraine border to 20,000. Former ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton is here with that. What's this, a new flashpoint for the weekend?
Well, potentially. I think Putin is continuing his strategy with respect to Ukraine that he's followed since the Yanukovych government was overthrown last year, of applying both military and economic pressure together with diplomatic efforts to achieve the objective he wants, which is Russian dominance over the Ukrainian government. I would be surprised if he actually uses military force, direct Russian intervention, but you can't rule it out. And I wouldn't confine it to these two provinces where the separatists have been active, because the pro-Russian areas of Ukraine are actually much more extensive. And I think what this shows is Putin still thinks he can use the threat of, or perhaps the actual use of, military force to achieve his objectives.
How about, has there been some fighting between Azerbaijan and Armenia?
Yeah, this has
border clashes.
This has been going on for a while, but there's been a recent uptick. And when you combine it with Russian activities in Ukraine, you're just talking about their hacking attacks in the West. They've engaged in cyber warfare against Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania for some time. This is Putin continuing to press out. He's not seeing effective resistance by the United States or Western Europe, and until he does, I think he's going to continue to be aggressive.
Now, this NBC Wall Street Journal poll, it covered the economy and the approval rating of the president. It also covered the approval rating, or lack thereof, of his foreign policy. He's down to 36% approval for foreign policy.
Yeah, I'd like to know who those 36% are, because the world's descending into chaos. And I think this poll and the drop in approval numbers overall gives the lie to the conventional political wisdom that Americans don't care about foreign policy. It's too remote from their lives. I think the American people are actually much more sensible and practical than their political leaders, and they see that because our economy here at home depends on a global economy, that instability in Europe can have a profound effect, as yesterday when the market went down, at least in part in response to the comments by a Polish official about a potential Russian invasion of Ukraine.
We see, we get used to a short news cycle. Something makes a headline, it lasts for 2-3 days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then we expect it to go away. Same thing with Russia. But it's not going away, is it? Now, you've just set up more tension, more real problems that may erupt in the next weekend, the next week or two. It's just not going away.
It's just the tip of the iceberg. Look, Putin gave us strategic warning 8 years ago when he said the collapse of the Soviet Union was the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century. That was a statement right then. He intended to get Russian hegemony in the space of the former Soviet Union. That's what he is doing, and he is meeting no effective American or European resistance.
Now, a lot of people say the world is a mess, whether it's Middle East, Russia, China, wherever, because our president has withdrawn from the game. We are not a force in the world any longer. Do you agree with that?
I think that's a large measure of it. Look, what minimal international order and stability there's been since the end of World War II has been because of American strength, the projection of our power, our system of alliances around the world. So international trade, finance, travel, you name it, didn't get there by accident. And if the United States pulls back, you're going to have anarchy increasing. You can see that in the Middle East most visibly today. But signs of it exist everywhere. And it's a subject Americans have to debate.
Yes, they do. And the stock market's highly vulnerable. Ambassador Bolton, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Glad to be here.
Check the